The City of oh, this is way in my face. The City of Peabody Zoning Board of Appeals meets tonight in accordance with Massachusetts, if you want one of those, you can have it. General Laws, Chapter 48, and other applicable laws. Tonight's hearing will be conducted in the following manner. Our Secretary, Mr. Zelotis, will read the legal notice or state that such a notice has been waived. Usually, all applications are heard in the order they were received in the City Clerk's office. There is a slight change tonight. We are taking number 5 first. The petitioner or petitioner's representative will present the subject application to the board. What that means is when it is your turn to come up here, you want to stay there because, yeah. So what that means is when it's your turn to come up to the podium, you will state your name and address for the record, and then you will tell us why you are here, giving us a little more detail. Remember, you are here for dimensional relief. The chair may limit the length of all remarks. I'll explain that in a minute. All parties in interest will be given an opportunity to speak either in favor or in opposition to your application, and the board may receive similar written communications to be placed on the public record. The petitioner will be given the opportunity to refute such or any remarks. So what that means is this. You'll come up to the podium, you'll state your name and address for the record, you'll speak clearly into the microphone. Make sure the little red light is on. You'll tell us what you're doing, why you're doing it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The board may ask you a few questions. Then I say, is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak in favor? There are usually one or two. Then I say, is there anybody in the audience that wants to speak in opposition? If there are many nights where both sides are filled with people. If that were the case, and it may be that there are 4 or 5 tonight that would like to speak in opposition of somebody's petition, you come up to the podium, once again, name and address for the record, and state as clearly as possible why you are in opposition of the person, your neighbor's building, whatever, a garage, a deck, an addition. Couple of things, I say this every week or every month. We would like to know good reasons why you're in opposition. We don't want to hear neighborhood, I don't like you because, and so I'm going to speak in opposition of your addition. I know that happens. We don't listen to that. I'll do one of these and I'll cut you off. I don't want to hear about the music, the dog barking, the leaves in the pool, the tree that they cut down that's been there for 50 years and you wish that they never cut it down, okay? It's not relevant. You're here for dimensional relief. We'd like you to keep to the subject matter. After, if there is anybody to speak in opposition, the petitioner can come back up to the podium and address any of those issues. I also say every meeting, please don't speak from your seat. So if you come up to the podium and you want to say something in opposition or in favor, and then you go back and sit down, and you remembered you wanted to say something, please don't shout it out. And it happens every month. Every month somebody forgets something, or they say they can't hear. Well, you never say you can't hear me, but you might not hear somebody else, and you just shout it out from your seat. If it's that important and you really can't wait to come up to the podium, raise your hand. I'll acknowledge you and I'll let you come up, but please don't shout out from your seat. After all of that, we might have a few more questions to ask. If you brought an attorney with you, they can also come back and discuss or explain anything that needs explanation. And then we vote. Now, not everything gets approved and not everything gets disapproved. So I also say this, and this, I really, really mean this. We are a very, very, very fair board. However, the zoning board, we are here because there are zoning laws, and zoning laws have to be abided by. And if you happen to want to build an addition and on one side of your house is all ledge or whatever, and it can't be done, then you obviously have to go to the other side. And that side, you might not have as much room, so you need the dimensional relief. And I just completely lost my train of thought. What was I talking about? So we understand that, and because we're so fair, we say, okay, you know, that's good. But if you want to build an 18-story addition that flies high into the sky, you know, that's a little bit over the top, and that really can't be approved. Not everybody leaves here happy, and I'm sorry about that, but you know what? These rules are here, and these laws are here for a reason, and that's just the way it is. So after we make our decision, the decision is typed and filed with the city clerk. Once the decision is filed, there is a 20-day appeal period, and you can't do anything until that's over. Carla, our clerk, will explain all of this to you after you're approved or not approved. In compliance with the open meeting law, this hearing is also being recorded by our clerk. And once again, when you are at the podium, please speak directly into the microphone. And unless I know ahead of time, and I don't see any reason for it, you can't videotape this on a cell phone. We're on YouTube, Facebook, and Channel 9. So there are plenty of opportunities to re-watch this wonderful meeting that we're going to have tonight. So, with that being said, number 1 on the agenda is the continued application of 40 Oak Street. This is a special meeting agenda item, and it will not be heard until November 25th. After that, we are going right straight to number 5, application of Joseph Salvaggio.
Notice is hereby given that the Board of Appeals of the City of Peabody will hold public hearing on Monday, November 18, 2019 at 7 p.m. in the Wigan Auditorium, City Hall, 24 Lowell Street, Peabody, Mass. On the application of Joseph Salvaggio for a modification to a previously granted variance from the provision of the zoning ordinance 2019 as amended section 7.2 as it applies to the premises known as 3 Yvonne Way, Peabody, Mass. Map 45, lot 21. Petitioner seeks a modification to a previously granted variance and requires relief lot number 3, rear yard setback, where 35 feet are required and 15 feet are proposed. Left yard setback, where 20 feet are required and 10 feet are proposed. The property is located in R1 zoning district. The application and plan are available to the public and can be viewed at the City Clerk's office and Board of Appeals office in City Hall.
Hi. I'm Joseph Salvaggio. I'm the owner and developer for 3 Yvonne Way. As was stated earlier, this was a previously granted variance from a while back. Yvonne Way is a 3-lot subdivision located on a private way in West Peabody. I have built 2 of the homes on that site and are preparing to build the 3rd home. In doing so, we had laid out the 3rd house in comparison to the 2 that are there and noticed that we wanted to set it back a little further and further to the left, which would be further away from a house on the right. So previously we had asked for relief on the right-hand side, but now we're actually moving the house further left, so we need relief on the left side and the rear.
So I go by this quite often, and I do have to say that what you've built so far is very, very nice. This was a deplorable piece of property that you decided to develop, and this is, I believe, the 2nd time you've come before us just to make sure that everything is done correctly.
Yes.
And you have to be commended for that.
Thank you.
Instead of just trying to hope that nobody catches it.
Mm-hmm.
So I personally see no problem with this. I'll open it up if there are any questions.
Through the chair, only question I have is, I'm sure it's the case, but previously we had 3 conditions way back when this was going through the phase 2 environmental,
Right.
condominium form ownership. That's everything's still.
Everything's
good with
been
that?
done, yes.
Okay. So we won't need a condition again then.
Anybody in the audience to speak in favor? Anybody in the audience to speak in opposition? Hearing none, the matter is before the board.
Second. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All set.
Thank you.
We are now on to number 2, Saiteni Residence LLC, Attorney Kelty.
Oh, this is continued.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. Members of the City of Peabody Board of Appeals, my name is John Kelty. I'm an attorney. I have offices at 40 Lowell Street in Peabody, Massachusetts. This is a petition for approval of certain zoning relief that was advertised at the prior meeting. We did have in our possession at the prior meeting, there were some concerns about where we had been, who has approved us, and where we are in this process. We've been to City Council. They have approved this plan. We have been to the Conservation. We have an approval from the Conservation Commission, albeit with a number of conditions, but we do have that approval. And we have been to Construction Review, and you have in your package, you have what would have been a late ad for last meeting. You did not accept it, and what it says is that the applicants for the proposed residential project located at 190 Newbury Street are currently before the Planning Board seeking a site plan review. The Community Development Department and Planning Department would recommend that any form of an approval granted by the Board of Appeals be contingent on the approval of the applicant's site plan review application. And we are, as Kurt Bellavance has suggested, we are actively before that board. We have located our driveways, our parking spaces, and this building as best we can without seeking any kind of zoning board relief. However, we are surrounded on 3 sides by wetlands, and as such, we do believe that we have hardship that runs with the land, and this is the best and most utilizable place for the positioning of the property. The size, the number of parking spaces, the roadway entranceway have all been reviewed and are continuing to be reviewed by the Community Development Department as part of their site plan review process. And we would certainly, if the board wants to consider granting our zoning relief this evening, we would absolutely adhere to a condition that says that we've got to complete our site plan review and do what it is asked of us there. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions the board may have.
Okay. So I'm not happy granting anything without reviews, number 1. So once again, I live right near this area, and I have some serious issues with the land itself. That land is wet. It has been wet forever. Pine Street itself, their culverts are underwater. I'd like to know where's the electricity coming from? Where did you even, have we looked into electricity? Have we looked into sewer lines? It's just, to me, you couldn't have picked a worse place to decide to build. And as far as conservation, you have 83 conditions. Now, some little modification changes, then some of these conservation conditions change. 81 conservation conditions. I've never seen anything like this before. So I'm sure the board has other questions, but I have to tell you, I am seriously, seriously not in favor of this. Seriously. I just don't get it. This wetland, we've had problems. When it was a junkyard, there was problems there. So I'm not even sure that anything that is ever built there would even stand up to I don't know, life itself. It's just, I don't know. It's just so wet. That land is so, so, so wet. But we'll hear from other members of the board.
Would you like that particular comments to be addressed now? We do have an order of conditions. We have completed, yes, it is some 80-odd. There are usually 40-odd that come with almost any, as minor as it may be. We have been, 4 years ago, we got an order to build on this land. That then got modified, and we have the new order of conditions, which has been granted to us without appeal. We've taken this project through the City Council. The City Council, while they were in the process of reviewing and approving it, the City Council passed the Residential Overlay District, which applies to the BR zoning district. And then when that finally got passed, that's what caused us to come before before this Zoning Board of Appeals. If we had commercial usages on the first floor, we would not need any of the relief that we're asking for this evening. However, we have parking on that ground level in the building. All the residential areas are elevated above, and so the lack of a commercial component on the first floor is what brings us here. So as we were completing our reviews, it was pointed out that now that the residential overlay district was in place, we would need to come to this board, and ask for your approval. That's what brings us here. We have been in the process of being reviewed and continue. The issues that are of most consequence, our electrical power has been reviewed by the Peabody Municipal Light. It'll come down our driveway. There will be transformers installed up nearer to Route 1. Our water and sewer are hooking up through to Pine Street through neighbor's land whom we've obtained an easement from. Our stormwater management system has been reviewed, and actually that's not we haven't had any pushback on that, and now we're looking at the issue of getting into the sewer line. There's a huge sewer line that runs parallel to Pine Street along this property, up an old railroad bed that is now privately owned, and so we're going to tie into that. And those are the kinds of issues that we're now speaking with Department of Public Services. They're not asking us to move things. They're not asking us to change this plan with any significance. So I don't believe that we're going to be back before the Conservation Commission, nor would we need to be back before you folks asking for any relief different from what we're requesting this evening.
Just since this residential overlay district is relatively new, if this was commercial and you had parking on the first level similar to this, would you still need a variance, or is it because it's commercial at all?
If it were entirely commercial, we would not need the same relief we're seeking tonight. If it had a commercial component right on the first floor, we wouldn't be here whatsoever.
So if it was commercial, first floor, residential,
above
that, there'd be no need for any variance?
Correct.
Through the chair? All right. Thank you. Like Stephen said, residential overlay district is relatively new. So when we started, the first thing I looked at it was the purpose, okay? And I'm really not in favor of this because when I look at the purpose of the residential overlay, I look at things that like say mixed business, commercial, office, and entertainment use, visual contrast between residential, non-residential uses, promote construction of new buildings, I'll go with that, encourage measurement between residential, allow for protecting natural resources such as water, resources, wetlands, floodplains, and wildlife, encourage mixed uses on site within the same structure, mixed uses, again, encourage consolidation of curb cuts, encourage residential living near or at commercial districts that provide entertainment and employment. And to me, just doesn't do it. This is a residential unit over. I know you've been to the city council. I know the city is in a flux to say, all right, we need affordable housing. No one doubts that. They're doing everything they can to make affordable housing, but that's not why we're here. We're here to look at the purpose of the residential overlay, and to me, this project does not meet the purpose of the residential overlay, and I'm not going to be in favor of this. Thank you.
Anybody in the audience to speak in favor?
Hello, my name is Audrey Gordon. I live at 17 Pine Street. My property is directly abuts this property at issue tonight. This development would be practically in my backyard. I am in favor because I have been working with the developers for many years now. They've been very approachable, and they have been helpful in that they've allowed me and my husband to, I've lived there for 25 years, by the way. I remember when it was a junkyard. I remember when all the test equipment was there. It's the idea of having this finally cleaned up and have something there is something that we have fought for a very long time. And they've just worked with us very well. We have a say in the lighting, in the landscaping, and at every stage of this process, they have been very good to work with. So I know that they've jumped through a lot of hoops with the City Council and the various review boards, and Conservation Commission especially. So we just felt that everything was done properly and through the right channels and with the right approvals. So we have no objections to their request that they're giving tonight.
Anybody else to speak in favor? Anybody to speak in opposition? Hearing none, the matter is before the board.
If this board would prefer perhaps to continue it till the December meeting so that we could get more information from the other boards that have actually, rather than the letter that just said, stick this condition on it, I'd be happy to do that. And
I think we have enough information. I mean, I don't want to continue it.
What, assuming you request from the board that we continue this hearing, what do
I
you...
didn't hear that.
I know, but what do you believe you would receive in addition from these?
I believe that I would get more thorough, maybe a completed review from the Public Services Department, and then a more detailed review, if you will, as to what these boards have considered and what they've come away with and what they would maybe recommend to the board. So I would respectfully request that the matter be continued until the December meeting.
That's what I was going to ask you. Do you want to continue this? And your answer?
Yes.
Make a motion to continue to the December meeting.
Thank you.
Number 3 is requesting a continuance. And
Move to grant the continuance to the December meeting.
Second? Do I have to second? Second.
In favor? Aye. So number 3, 7 Reed Road is continued to the December meeting. Number 4 is 10 Maryville.
Notice is hereby given that the Board of Appeals of the City of Peabody will hold a public hearing on Monday, November 18, 2019 at 7 p.m. at the Wigan Auditorium, City Hall, 24 Lowell Street, Peabody, on the application of Robert Brock, care of Daniel Donovan, for a variance from the provision of the zoning ordinance 2019 as amended, section 7.2, as it applies to the premises known as 10 Maryvale Lane, Peabody, Mass., map 008, lot 084. Petitioner seeks a variance and requires relief to left side yard setback, where 20 feet are required and 6 feet are proposed. The property is located in an R1 zoning district. The application and plan are available to the public and can be viewed at the City Hall's office in the Board of Appeals.
Good evening. Rob Brock, 10 Maryville Lane. I'm looking to build a 2-car garage with a family room above. It's 24 by 32. Because of lack of storage and a growing family.
Okay, sir, so I had a chance to go up there today, as I'm sure some of my board members, if not all of them, also did. The first thing I want to tell you is what you described as a hardship, which you need, is not a hardship. That's number 1. Number 2, this looks completely out of place with the rest of the neighborhood. This is a gigantic addition. And living space, did you say living space up above the garage?
Yes, a family room.
Is it going to have just a family room?
Yes. Yep.
Are you sure?
Yep.
Just through the chair, if I could. This is, you have the White Ranch, right? The white ranch with your house is a white ranch, is that correct? Okay. When I was up there, I noticed, is there a reason why you want to put it on the left side of your structure when you've got all that room where that black fence and everything is on the other side?
Yeah, the driveway is on the side where the addition would go, and the main sewer line is on the other side of the house, so if we poured that foundation, we would have to take that up. It just flows with the house more. The bedrooms are on the side that you're saying to put it on, so you'd have a garage there, you'd be walking through the bedrooms. To get to the garage, it wouldn't actually go with the flow of the house.
One thing that bothered me, and right now I'm really leaning towards not approving this as far as the land goes, is it really doesn't keep with the character of the neighborhood. There's all one-floor ranches in the whole neighborhood. I mean, I always try to look at one house that would have the second story, and it's just not there. It just doesn't keep in character with the neighborhood. It's just such a huge addition. Like maybe if you didn't put the second floor on, I mean, I think there's things that I could look at other than, maybe a garage is a garage, It's just that second story of the building bothers me, and it just doesn't keep in the character of the neighborhood. If you want it for what you say, storage and cars, and a garage would suffice, But right now, I just don't see it. Just seems like a lot of additional building to be done in a neighborhood that it just doesn't fit in, to be honest with you, in my opinion. Thank you.
I'd have one more question. So, are you sure you have, From the lot line to, it says 6 feet. It almost looks like a second thought. That's 6 foot, required proposed 6. Well, they have it down as 6. I'd like the building inspector at some point to check that again. But that's neither here nor there right now. Just me thinking out loud. Anybody want to chime in over here? Anybody in the audience to speak in favor? I do have a letter here that I'm going to read in opposition. My name is Ray Ann Evitts. I am a lifelong resident of Peabody and have resided at 8 Maryvale Lane for approximately 20 years. I am the abutter on the left side at the location of the proposed addition. Of the 14 houses on Maryvale Lane, only one house has a second story, which was constructed over the existing structure. Since I have resided on Maryvale Lane, there have been additions to 3 of the houses. All of these have been single-story additions, one of which is located on the left side of my property. One of the main reasons I purchased my house all those years ago was because of the single-story structures and the additional privacy these single stories offered. The plot located at 10 Maryvale Lane sits approximately 3 feet higher than my property at 8 Maryvale. There is currently an older fence between our plots located 25 feet to 1 foot from the applicant's house. This only leaves 1 inch to 1 foot, separating the house from the fence, which slopes down 3 feet. I am very concerned of the proximity and height of the proposed structure to the fence, as it could possibly cause damage to the fence, the trees, and the landscape located on the side of my fence. The application for the variance states that the proposed structure will be in line with the current driveway, but the plot plan shows that it will be extended. It also refers to a workshop garage structure existing in the area previously. That structure was not a garage, it was a small, single-story shed that housed the original owner's pool equipment with a standard house door for entry. It stood no higher than 5 feet above the fence line. It did not tower over the fence line, invading our privacy and shading the west side of our house from the afternoon sun. The proximity and size of this addition will do both of these things. Since the applicant did not note a hardship, nor do I believe there is one, and the size derogates from what exists in the neighborhood, I ask that the Zoning Board of Appeals deny the variance for a 6-foot setback. So there you have it. Anybody else in opposition or in favor? And the board, any other questions? Hearing none.
Just one thing to bring up, Barry touched on it before, was that you're here for a garage and for a second story above that for a family room. If it's denied here tonight, you don't get it. You have the right to appeal that decision, but you don't get it. You have a right to scale it back if you wanted to. So as we usually typically do, we'll afford you an opportunity if you want to scale it back and come back before us, or even scale it back tonight and have a discussion with us about it. Can't guarantee it'll go your way, but it might be something you want to consider.
Okay, thank you. Can I have time to sit down and think about everything and possibly scale it back and come back up?
If you want to take that approach, you'd have to request a continuance like Attorney Kelty had done previously.
For next month.
Then I'd like to do that for the next one.
So I'll make a motion to continue this to the December meeting.
Second.
All right, thank you.
Number 6.
Peabody will hold a public hearing on Monday, November 18, 2019 at 7 p.m. at the Wigan Auditorium, City Hall, 24 Lowell Street, Peabody, Mass. on the application of Warren A. Innes, trustee of the A&W Realty Trust 2, care of attorney John Kelty, for a variance from the provision of the zoning ordinance 2019 as amended, section 7.2, as it applies to the premises known as 280 Washington Street, Peabody, Mass., map 093, lot 001A. Petitioner seeks a variance to subdivide and move the property line between two commonly owned properties and requires relief to lot area where 15,000 square feet are required and 10,895 square feet are proposed for parcel B. The property is located in R1A zoning district. The application and plan are available to the public and can be viewed at the City Clerk's office and Board of Appeals office, City Hall.
Thank you. My name is John Kelty. I'm an attorney. I have offices at 40 Lowell Street in Peabody, Massachusetts, and I appear this evening on behalf of Warren Innes. Warren is trustee of both A&W Realty Trust, which is the owner of Parcel B, as shown on the plan, and which is 280 Washington Street. And he is also the trustee owner through R&W Realty Trust of number 8 Goodrich Street, which shows on the plan filed with you as Parcel A. At issue tonight is the request to move a lot line. There is a reference to, it is a subdivision of land. We're going to take land which is currently part of 280 Washington Street, create a new lot line, and provide it to be added to Parcel A, which is 8 Goodrich, and then Parcel C, which is 4,131 square feet, would also be added to that. The reason for this is that the two-car garage shown at the rear of Parcel A is, generally speaking, is always accessed from 280 Washington Street. There is a grade change between Goodrich Street and the rear of 280 Washington Street. So what the family is anticipating is that there will be some future date that perhaps the family doesn't own both of these parcels, and as such, they would like to add Parcel C to 8 Goodrich Street, then provide an easement that easement.
Hello?
Thank you. I saw a blue flash, and my life was before me. So this is actually just exchanging land so that, and providing then an easement so that you can access from 280 Washington Street, Parcel C, the garage, and utilize it for 8 Goodrich. So there is no subdivision, there is no addition, there is no subdivision leading to an additional structure or any additional house. The notes on the plan say exactly what's going to occur. If we were granted this variance, wherein we've made 8 Goodrich bigger than it was, it formerly was 15,000, it was in excess. I'm sorry, 280 Washington Street was in excess of the required area. We want to provide that 4,100 added to Parcel A. Parcel A will now become, 8 Goodrich will now become 12,000 plus square feet, and 280 Washington will become 10,008 square feet. So they'll be more evenly aligned, and at the same time, once we grant that easement, if the property at 280 Washington Street is sold, there'll be access that can be provided. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Well, Jack, this makes sense. This makes sense.
Oh,
This
thank
makes
you.
perfectly good sense. Questions, comments, concerns? Anybody in the audience to speak in favor? In opposition? We'll show you how easy it is. Matter is now before the board.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion to approve.
Favor?
I need a second.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Second.
Thank you.
All in favor? Any opposed? You're all... Number 7.
That the Board of Appeals of the City of Peabody will hold a public hearing on Monday, November 18, 2019 at 7 p.m. at the Wigan Auditorium, City Hall, 24 Lowell Street, Peabody, Mass. On the application of Ann E. King, care of Attorney John Kelty, for a variance from the provision of the zoning ordinance 2019 as amended, section 7.1 and 7.2, as it applies to the premises known as 28 to 30 Rockdale Avenue, Peabody, Mass, map 116, lots 138A and 139. Petitioner seeks a variance and requires relief to lot area of 15,000 square feet are required and 5,100 square feet are proposed for lot 28 and 5,100 square feet are proposed for lot 30. Lot frontage where 125 feet are required and 60 feet are proposed for lot 28 and 60 feet are proposed for lot 30. Lot width where 60 feet are required and 30 feet are proposed for lot 28 and 30 feet are proposed for lot 30. Front yard where 20 feet are required and 4 feet are proposed for lot 28. Side yard where 15 feet are proposed and 6 feet are proposed for lot 28 and 10 feet are proposed for lot 30. Minimum buildable lot width where 60 feet is required and 30 feet is proposed for both lots 28 and 30. Minimum buildable lot depth for where 40 feet are required and 30 feet are proposed for both lots 28 and 30. The property is located in R1A zoning district. The application and plan are available to the public and can be viewed at the City Clerk's office and the Board of Appeals.
Thank you, members of the Board of Appeals. My name is John Kelty. I'm an attorney. I practice law at 40 Lowell Street here in Peabody, Massachusetts, and I'm appearing this evening on behalf of Ann King, who is the owner of all 3 of the lots that are shown on this plan. Lot 26 is actually number 26, Rockdale Ave. 28 likewise is number 28. And 30 is known and numbered as there is no structure on that premises, and that's number 30 Rockdale Ave. The house that was built on number 28, the middle lot, that was built in 1920. In 1971, the structure that is on, it's a garrison type structure, that was built in 1971. We're in 1978, zoning in the city of Peabody was adopted, not for the first time, but the 40A, the Comprehensive Zoning Act, was adopted, and new provisions of zoning were recorded in 1978 and adopted in 1978. And that had the impact of merging number 28 and number 30. Number 30 has a garage slab which would be removed in conjunction with any grant of this variance, and a proposed structure. If you were to grant these variances, that allows us to separate lot number 28 from lot number 30, and we could be in business with respect to starting anew. Two of the neighbors that are here this evening live right across the street on Rockdale Ave. They have concerns that I've heard in the past. I was able, which are predominantly drainage. One of the concerns was with respect to, if you were to grant this evening's variance, could the house be any bigger than what we showed as a 28 by 34 structure? And the answer to that is no, because we've kind of maxed out. We got a 10-foot, we're asking for a 10-foot variance on the left side, the common side. We're 15 feet off of our neighbor, which is the requirement. We've moved the driveway to the common side, that is to the lot side owned by my client, and we have a 35-foot rear yard and a 20-foot front yard. So no, the answer to the question is that the house could not be any bigger. There was a concern about how tall can that structure be, and we are maxed at 30 feet under the current zoning, and the zoning in this district and throughout most of the residential areas of the city of Peabody. We have asked for some variances with respect to the existing structure so that we would bring that at number 28, so we're bringing that into conformity. There's no suggestion that we're building a new structure there. One of the principal concerns, and maybe the greatest concern of people that live in this area of South Peabody, is with respect to stormwater. I was able to find plans from the Public Services Department that show that there are 2 stormwater facilities, 2 storm drains that are on Woodland Ave. That's on the left-hand side of your page. And then there are 2 more manholes, and not manholes, but storm drains that are down at the end before we get to Spring Pond. The plan I have shows both of those. However, there is no indication that they are hooked up to each other. And there is a word on the street, Rockdale Ave, it says no. Everywhere else in that district, it'll say no drains, no drains. It doesn't say no drains, but I have a sense that these 4 units are not connected. So I'm proposing that as a condition for any construction that would take place on lot number 30, which is 30 Rockdale Ave, that any construction have all their gutter system, roof drainage, completely tied into a drainage system that would, my client, any prospective builder would put a catch basin in Rockdale Ave and then build about 160 or 80, I think it's 3/6, so it's 180 feet of storm drain line connecting it down to the storm drains at Spring Pond Road, provided that the city will let us do that, which I'm very optimistic and would expect that they would. But if there is some reason that they would not let us connect, then I would suggest that this house be tied into a storm drainage facility completely on its own land, where we would have the gutter system coming down into some detention facility that would be under the ground on the private property. Ideally, we would put it into the city system. That would be much more functional, but in the event that there is some unbeknownst reason that they would not let us tie in, then we would provide it on our property in and of itself. I think that if there were to be a major renovation at number 28, that same condition should be carried over to there, so that any renovation of the existing dwelling at number 28 would also require stormwater management systems to be built and constructed. I think that those address many of the principal concerns that the neighbors in this general area have, and I'm happy to answer questions and address concerns that the board or the neighborhood may have.
Through the chair, I'm very familiar with this area. I lived on Emerson Avenue for quite a while, and I certainly do agree with the neighbors' concerns about stormwater. However, it's always been a mystery to me. The stormwater in that area is, some houses and the closest to the pond get the least amount of water, and the houses up at the other end of Rockdale and Emerson and they get the most water. So I don't know if bringing the water that way towards, are you going to bring it down towards the pond, towards Spring Pond, as opposed to upward to Woodlawn, right?
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense.
And that can be accommodated by, the grade and the depth of the pipe.
I did go by.
My only concern with tying in down there, my only concern with that is because if there's no kind of filtration or system, although,
exactly.
you know, when water runs down the street, is it significant and gets to Spring Pond, is it significantly different from what we're proposing today? Probably not.
And I really don't know, you know, the debate lingers whether it's the height of the pond, you know, or what causes the water problem down there. No one seems to answer. A lot of people think that if they just lowered the length of the pond, that would take care of a lot of it, a lot of the groundwater situation. But I would tell you there would definitely be a stormwater management required for any. And is the owner here? Is the owner here? Is the owner here? Yes. I just have a question through you, I guess, to the owner. And I'm not saying the house at 28 is, I guess I would say, more than anything, it probably could use a paint job, and I'm not going to say it's in disrepair, but are there any plans for major renovations to that house?
Yes, thank you. My name is Ann King. I live at 26 Rockdale Avenue. You know what the house looks like. My elderly mother was too sick to undergo the construction experience, so that's why it came to the state it was. I would like to sell it, and I hope that someone fixes it up. It's a great house. It's withstood a lot, and it's still standing. So it's, you know, I hope did I answer your question?
Yeah, you did, and
Thank you.
It was a difficult question to ask because I don't know what the inside of the house looks like, but so best I could say was it looks like it needs a paint job. But so it's a nice house, but it looks like it's going to go through some major renovations pretty soon.
It's one of the 4 original houses on the street.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think it has enough room to do it, and I think, you know, I'm kind of interested in the neighbors. I certainly do know that something's going to have to be done about the water. If we do approve this, there has to be the condition that some stormwater management done. Do we want to make it to the satisfaction of public services or to the satisfaction of public services? Is that a problem? Okay. I have nothing else. Thank you.
Right, we don't know that yet. Eddie, did you want to say something?
I have a quick question. Is that house occupied now? No. Thank you.
Okay. Microphone, Eddie. Anybody in the audience to speak in favor?
Good evening. My name is John Tracchia. I live at 31 Rockdale, directly across the street. There's a couple of my concerns is, first of all, the house size was 28 by 34. All our lots there are the same 5,100 square feet, and the houses just aren't that big. They're 24 to 30, 24 by 30 or 26 by 32 are the bigger ones there. So I'm just concerned about the size of the house that's going to be put there. I mean, Mr. Kelty, Attorney Kelty has pointed out that's the size of, like, the biggest one they could possibly put there. I'm just concerned that investors are going to come in, like you heard Ann say. Well, first of all, let me say this. Our families have lived side by side for 3 generations. They're great neighbors. You know, we've all got along down there for a long, long time. And as a young man, I shoveled their snow, raked their leaves, and I did small repairs for them. And so the history's great. I'm just concerned an investor, you heard her say she wants to sell. Excuse me, I'm concerned an investor's gonna come in and put the biggest house he possibly can there to maximize his profit, and then move back to Boxford on his 2-acre lot, wherever he's from. They still do call it desirable South Peabody. I'd like to keep our little corner of it exactly that. My other concern was which I talked to Attorney Kelty, which I was happy I had the opportunity to talk to him, was about the drainage. I believe there should be 2 catch basins put in, one on that side of the street and one in front of Rockdale 31 where I live. Right now, the length of my mother's property there is a 4-foot puddle, the whole length of the lot. There's no curbs, it just fills up with water there. Years ago, there was a tree, the roots must have raised the street, so all the water catches right there. And in the wintertime, it's a nightmare. It's 4 feet of ice, the whole length of the property. And that's the other concern was the height, and Attorney Kelty explained to me it's a 30-foot restriction, which is reasonable. If any way possible, maybe scale the size of the footprint of that house back a little, rather than the maximum 28 by 34, because it's larger than all the other 5,100 square foot lots that have existing buildings on them. And if, I don't know if this is the forum to discuss 2 catch basins. It probably isn't. That's probably up to city services. But I mean, if a pipeline has to be put in like Attorney Kelty has proposed, it would be easy to put in 2. And I think it really needs it, because it's a grass area now, the one we're talking about, and it absorbs quite a bit of water. And I'm just concerned that it's just going to be a worse water problem right in front of my house and for the rest of the neighbors. And to answer your question, sir, when I was a kid, there were brooks that ran across all those streets that are now in pipes. So I mean, there's an underground water system there that, years ago it was an apple orchard, or, farmland, whatever it was, and they used to irrigate that whole area. So when the water's high, those brooks run, and everyone's pumping up and down Emerson Ave and everything like that. So I want to speak in favor of the house being built. I've been there since '71. My grandfather built the house. We've been lucky. It's been a nice vacant lot all these years. I mean, you have to be reasonable. A house, can be put there. I would just like to see maybe the size scaled back a little bit, the footprint, and absolutely a stipulation about the drainage. Thank you.
Thank you. And just as information, I used to get my information from Stoney Jackson, who I considered the godfather of the water for Springs Pond. And he always told me it's the aquifer for.
Thank you.
Anybody else in opposition? Were we speaking in favor? In favor. Anybody else in favor?
Hello, my name is Lynn Balkas Lapone. I live at 63 Emerson Avenue, which abuts the rear of 28 Rockdale and 30 Rockdale. My parents built the house in 1951. I was born and raised and have lived in that home. My husband and I presently live there. We have absolutely no concerns about a variance being granted or the land being sold and built upon.
Hi, my name's Sean Haywood. I'm at 32 Rockdale Ave. I'll speak in favor of it as well, with the concerns still with the water. Our property is on the side. They're not looking for the variance for the relief, but it's more for the water and the drainage plan. We're one of probably the few lucky ones that don't get water in our basement. So, yeah, it's completely finished. So if we start getting it now, it'll basically turn our house into half of a house. So, yeah, and that's it. That's all I have. Thank you.
Anybody else in favor? Anybody in opposition?
Hi, my name is Angel MacDonald, and I live at 67 Emerson Avenue. My house is directly behind the empty lot associated with the 30 Rockdale Avenue. I'm contesting because when I purchased my home 22 years ago, one of the main reasons was because of the empty lot behind it and the empty lot to my right, which is my side lot. I have a double lot property. I love the fact that I didn't have neighbors immediately to the right and back of me. I love the fact that I didn't have a house blocking my sunlight. I didn't have it overshadowing my yard that didn't block the sunlight. And that's one of the main factors I bought my house. After living there for 22 years, I quickly discovered the lovely flooding issue, as everyone's been discussing. In the 22 years I've lived there, I've only flooded 4 times, and it was during major, major issues when we had that month of May, where it was the entire month, when we got probably 24 inches of snow, and then it warmed up really fast. Those are the only times I flood, and I feel that my reason I don't flood is because of the land directly behind me, and my land absorbs the water. My neighbors at 71 and across the street from them, they are also double lots, and since I've been there the entire 22 years, I only think I've seen them flood twice. Again, it's, you know, if you've seen the top of the street, it's weeks upon weeks of flooding. I feel if we build a property there, the water has nowhere to go but in that basement and forcing it into my basement. My home is 99 years old. It cannot, I don't want to endure it to water that's unnecessary, that it doesn't need to take on because of this issue it has. And, you know, again, my neighbor is 63. They pump water. I hear their pump running in the spring all the time, neighbors across the street, and I'm one of the lucky ones, as one of my other neighbors over there says that they don't flood, and that's one of my major concerns, plus my privacy is another issue, because it's one of the reasons why I did purchase my home where I am. So, thank you for hearing me. Thank you.
Back anything at all? Are you done?
McDonald's issue was somewhat privacy related. We'd be happy to add a fence, you know, at the, okay.
And there it is. There it is. Okay, hearing none, the matter is before the board.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
We'll make a motion to approve with a condition, and that condition will be that all drainage for Lot 30 will be tied to a catch basin in Rockdale with a storm drain line connecting it to the Spring Pond Road drainage system. Or in the alternative, that does not work, a storm drainage or detention system privately on Lot 30. This will both be to the satisfaction of Department of Public Works. And then additionally, I suppose a second condition would be that if additional work, or I shouldn't say work, if an addition is made to Lot 28 that materially changes the structure, then these same 2 conditions would apply to Lot 28. Yeah. Yes, and then due to the fact there was a request for a possible second storm drain, we would refer you to DPW to see if that is an option as part of this storm drainage system.
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Move to continue number 8 on the agenda till the December meeting.
Second.
Aye. Move to accept the minutes from the last meeting.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Motion to, no. You have before you the meeting dates for 2020. Could you just take a quick look? Basically, the third Monday of the month, unless the third Monday is a holiday and it reverts down to the fourth. Motion, could I have a motion to accept these minutes?
Move to accept the meeting dates for 2020.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to adjourn. All set.